Howdy folks, and welcome to part 2 of the video of the meetings that a bunch of the EU community contributors, myself included, had with various different employees of Wargaming at their global headquarters in Cyprus just after the new year. I'll keep the intro short this time and just get straight back on more or less from where we left off last time, but there is one thing that I wanted to bring up. Marcus Schill there, Wargaming Europe's general manager, he's the fella sitting with the black t-shirt on. Have you noticed the lighting reflected in the windows behind him? Is it just me, or is Marcus actually the Archangel Tyrael from Diablo? He used to work for Blizzard. I think we deserve to know the truth. Anyway, I must say that I'm very, very happy that most of the comments have been overwhelmingly positive from part 1 of this video series, and there are plenty more to come. But anyway, on with the show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this insight into the development process behind World of Tanks and why Wargaming do things the way they do. Sort of like specialising in one particular branch.
Yeah.
So it's actually something similar in World of Warships. If you got the Emden, you played with the Emden, you got the X3 buffer just for your Emden crew. Oh. Just for playing with
I like
nice.
because I like the latest patch for World of Warships where they introduced the whole missions and events and stuff, and I really liked what they did, because there was all sorts of like flag packages and stuff that you could buy in the premium shop. But or you could just play the missions. You can I can't be bothered, I'll just buy them, or just play the game, and they shower you with the rewards anyway. All kinds of experience buffs and different.
The daily quests as well in World of Warships are pretty cool.
Yeah. Often I'd forget that they were running, and I'd just be playing, and oh wow, what did I do? Free stuff. Where'd that come from? Oh, the missions. Oh yes. That happens in World of Tanks as well. I'm playing along, and suddenly I've just completed a personal mission.
The concern I had always having is that the missions in World of Tanks and World of Warships, you just complete them, and sometimes you just realize out of sudden, oh, I just completed something. Yeah. Do you think that's, what's your opinion on that? Because I was like, if you're getting something, if it's content in the game, you should be actively aware of it and have it. I mean,
yes.
I feel sometimes players are losing something, and we are losing in the fact, because they're not really aware of what's
and they're just getting free
stuff. I remember when I played the first 200 or 500 battles in World of Tanks, I didn't even realize that I don't care about the stuff popping up in the right corner. And there were missions popping, so completed. I said, yeah.
So the daily missions, I would say, are great. So you can point the mission and you can drive to it. It's not really hard. But later on, especially from the T55A, it begins to get so hard that I'm just throwing away the missions. So I'm not pointing it, and that's what he said.
Yeah, the reason that the missions come as a surprise to me in World of Tanks is because when I first started doing the missions, it was before you renegotiated the terms of some of the victory conditions, and some of them were just they hadn't been very well implemented. They were encouraging you to drive, for example, a heavy tank in a way that you shouldn't be driving a heavy tank in a team-based game, and they were kind of, well, you could choose between winning the battle or completing your mission. So I stopped actually trying to get the missions completed.
Me too.
Purely from a personal perspective, which is why when a mission pops up, congratulations, you just completed Heavy Tank 14. I'm like, whoa, wow, I didn't even realise it was, I from a personal perspective, that's why they come up as a surprise to me. Obviously.
So we need to separate a little bit the in-game missions that have been implemented with 8 point, what was it actually, 8 point something.
Oh yeah, that was a while back.
Yeah.
That's old news.
That was, I think it was like early 9, wasn't it? I think.
I can't remember. No, I think it might have been 8 point something.
8 point something.
Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, those you actually have to select that I want to do that mission now. Yeah. And that's the concept of that versus the concept of the specials, which just
which are running anyway. Yes.
And you don't have to pick and choose or say, okay, I want to do this one now. What is your thinking about, or your thought process when you look at this from a
choice is better.
I think the specials are great. Yes. So I have the when a special is, I really try to get the bonus and driving to it.
When there are specials running, like for example the ones in World of Warships, where you say, okay, what's running at the moment? Japanese cruisers, tier 5 and above, sink X number of destroyers, bingo, okay. But you have to actually go and look and see what it is. And there's no, right, I'm going to that one, other than whichever of the 3 are currently running. Whereas in World of Tanks, you've got 15 different missions for every class of vehicle, and you can pick and choose. The fact that there is more choice in World of Tanks is a good thing, because players want choice. And there's a huge range of different things that you can choose to do. There's 15 different missions for each class of vehicle, so you can just, right, I don't feel like playing, I want to play a light tank. What light tank missions haven't I done? And you can...
I think we're talking about the specials.
Yeah,
Well, both actually. So
okay.
you have... quite honestly, and this is a little bit of internal, but the way that the missions were implemented is actually how I wanted specials to be implemented. Back in the days when we didn't have specials.
Right.
So basically, I wanted to have a system, not necessarily where everything is pre-programmed, where everything is like done by the development team saying, okay, this is the...
That would be good.
But basically doing for the specials something like this, where you can say, okay, there's 3 specials, and you can choose one of them.
Yeah.
Or something like this, but you have to actually say, I want to do this, as like a quest that you accept, like a mission that...
Well, because in World of Warships, if you, for example, if you don't play, if one of the specials is, for example, well, that's really an aircraft carrier thing, and I don't play aircraft carriers, you can reject that special once a day.
Once a day, yes.
And pick another one.
Yeah.
Something like the choice, having the element of choice, whether you can sit and choose. If you had something, if they, if the specials in World of Tanks as well, because they're just running whether you like them or not.
Yeah.
If you could do something like, because I always feel that you can never give players too much choice. If players will, players, they like to complain about anything. And if it's, I don't like this special, it's no good for me, I never play heavy tanks, blah, 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 blah. Well, fine. Then wait for the next special. That's their only option at the moment. But if you give them a choice of specials that they can play, kind of in the same way World of Warships is doing it, although not necessarily doing it exactly the same way. They're different games after all. You can never give players too much choice, because if you allow them to choose what they're going to have, then they can't complain about it.
Well, it depends on what choice you give them.
Yes.
But
they can always
they
complain
will
about
find
it.
ways. I've been in the gaming industry for long enough to know this now.
And at the moment you just have missions to kill, for example, 10 tanks or something like that. But what is when I'm enjoying playing scouts and want to scout people?
Yeah.
You don't have any specials like that.
Sometimes it's all luck of the draw, really. Sometimes the special will be good for you, sometimes it won't. But I think people expect that. One of the things that gets me, though, is sometimes the specials just look really silly. Sometimes there's a huge disparity in the quality of the specials. Sometimes it'll be kind of like, I think it was just like play a game and you've got 3 premium consumables per game. And then the next time, I think it was if you put, I think there was one weekend before Christmas where you had to play 20 games and then you've got a premium consumable or something.
Yeah, there's like a consistency in the effort to reward ratio.
Yeah. No, so much. Yeah. So yeah, it is basically that. Yeah. Yeah. So I think some of the specials need to be rethought, or I don't know. If you two come up with the specials, I think that it's just a case of thinking, how does this line up with that? So I think they need to be planned quite carefully, and think, or if we do a special like this and then we do one next weekend where we're kind of making them do 10 times the effort and giving them a third of the reward, and it's a bit like, no, is this really a special, or is it just something that you're releasing on the weekend because you feel like you have to?
Yeah, there's obviously always there's always the risk of the spiral that you're getting into, right? If you give more every weekend, basically, because
people start to expect more.
Exactly. So you do a special, and then you have expectations set up that the next special needs to be at least as good as this one, and if it's only as good as this one, then it's as expected. So it doesn't excite anymore. So actually, to be able to do a special that actually, where people say, "Oh, that's actually a really good one," you need to kind of have also some that are not that good. But it is a tricky part, and we have obviously the added challenge that we are running all the regions independently and don't have one special for all. So that's the last kind of topic area that I wanted to address with you guys, especially for the English-speaking audience. We have a lot of comparison with
North
America, and also for the Russian speakers that actually take information from the Russian server and give it to you. So we have a lot of comparison always on what is this server doing. You were mentioning this for the tech tree release, which quite honestly I personally didn't like that much.
You didn't like the North American design on it too much?
I didn't like that when the tech tree was released, there were basically over promoting it in my view, because I wanted people to actually experience the tech tree because they wanted to experience the tech tree, and not because of all the bonuses that they would be getting if I make them experience the tech tree.
Yeah.
So, that was my opinion on it. That doesn't necessarily have to be everyone's. I'm just I felt like when you introduce something new and you make it too sexy, then people will simply do it because you made it sexy, rather than you have an idea of why do people actually want to play the Czech tech tree.
Yeah.
And obviously we had in Europe a very strong response from the Czech community, which is a large community, and they actually enjoyed having, or they really liked the idea of having their own tech tree in the game. So we had a lot of people playing it anyway, so that we got a lot of exposure of the tanks for other players who were seeing them in battle, and then might be intrigued by let's try it out as well. And I like that a little bit more than kind of pushing it down everyone's throat by saying, okay, if you do that, then you get all these boosts, and it's going to be very easy for you.
I don't think the boosts were that much. They were just like tiny little things, almost as if you do this, then we'll give you this. But I think the crew members was a pretty nice touch, like to get that 100% crew in this. It's nice. It's a nice reward because there are. I don't know. You probably know the numbers. I'd be very interested to see what percentage of active players actually say have unlocked quite a few lines, and then they wait for new lines, and then they just play up that line. So for those kind of players, it feels like a bit of a reward, and it also probably quite attractive for players who have maybe gone, oh, there's nothing really for me to do at the moment to come back and to play it. So.
I think you've nailed, because this is one of the things, obviously, you've got your short-term, medium-term and long-term goals that you want to have people thinking about when they log into a game. And World of Tanks has nailed it. I mean, the short-term goal, win the next battle.
Yeah.
Medium-term goal, get the next gun unlocked on my Tiger. Long-term goal, get to tier 10. But then you've got all other different kinds. You've got the missions that have been thrown in. You've got the premium tanks that you can unlock by doing this, that and that, and all kinds of different things that people can think about. Okay, I'm going to play World of Tanks tonight. What am I going to do? And you're almost overwhelmed with options. But you can't have too many options because, people love choice. Other games, still working on the medium-term goals.
Yeah. Well, so this obviously, due to the length of time that the product has been on the market and the amount of tanks that are now in the game, going back to being someone who's joining the game just now, if you're looking at...
it can be bewildering.
You have a gazillion choices to get to tier 10.
Yeah.
Like back in the days, you had, what did you have? You had Russian, German and American. And that's it. And we're not talking like 5 different tier 10s per nation, but like 2 maybe.
And some nations didn't even have tank destroyers.
Exactly. And some still don't.
No,
But the amount of choices obviously has increased significantly for someone who's joining you.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree. For me, it's the same thing. When I log into World of Tanks, I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do? Because I'm always like, I have now 1.5 million free experience just lying around, and it's like, what is going to be my next tier 10? And it's like, well, now I just made a conscious choice, say, okay, this needs to be gone. I cannot every time log in and see this 1.5 million, so I just bought or researched every German tier 10, because it's like, if one thing I have to have all the German tier 10, so I did that, and now I'm down to like 400,000 free experience, because there wasn't much left.
First world problems, eh?
Yeah, but it's actually when you log in and what is the next thing that you want to do. I think for that we do have now quite a big variety of choice that where you can, in which direction you can go. Whether there's still there's also Clan Wars. There's Rampage. There's what is the Steel Hunt, which is a Rampage, and
Domination.
Yes, but I was actually, what is the thing where you have to build your own little base?
Stronghold.
Stronghold. Yeah. So you have that as well as an avenue if you are in a clan. So there's.
Anybody water or coffee or something?
Coffee, water.
Coffee, please.
Water, you lovely place.
Coffee and water.
Okay.
Couple of jokes. Fine.
So
one of the main advantages that Wargaming has in World of Tanks is that unlike other MMOs or MOBAs, none of its old content becomes outdated or obsolete.
Yeah.
You think about it, every single tank has almost its own kind of little play style.
Yeah, people still love playing the Panther 2s.
Yeah,
people
especially with with the introduction of the HD models, becomes a new perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it when my ERA 100 gets an HD model.
Whereas every other
Oh my
MMO,
gosh.
they have to release expansions, they have to increase their level cap, and then all of that previous content, while they leave it in the game, is now redundant.
So, but here comes a question that is actually very important for me, because the next meeting will be probably a lot about balancing and all the things that we want to do on the, or actually have your feedback on the development of the game. One thing that, so there is obviously a couple of things that are easily accessible even to us as a feedback from the community. Is obviously matchmaker, balancing, artillery, maps. So that's 4 very low-hanging fruits where you can do something about it. And that's probably what we're going to do next, talk about next with Slava. But one thing for me is like, what is actually your long-term motivation? Like you were saying, other MMOs have to bring out expansions and whatnot. What does World of Tanks need to bring out to stay interesting for you guys? Not as streamers and YouTubers, but as players. As people who have been ranking up 30,000 plus battles, some of you, what is it that makes you come back if you weren't just streaming or like...
Another tank line.
Yeah, content.
It's content.
Yeah, but, so content is so another tank line, and content can be two different things. So
so I would not just say a new tank line, it's one part, the other part is new maps, especially when they were designed. I loved Overlord.
Yeah, while that adds variety to the game, I don't think it's something that you can just pick out, because I don't know how many times you guys have got on the new Pilsen map. Like,
but I tried to get it.
It was
that's
also
true.
a test server.
It enriches the experience, and it makes that battle special.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you can actively. Well, I guess if you say you try and sign up to try and get it, but I don't feel that while it's new content, it's different to new things that you can do. So I guess it's definitely
more like a short-term situation. And the
so it's new tactics. It's new question of how do you play that map well.
A new challenge.
That's more like short-term, but it still keeps me motivated when you bring in a map. And then a new tank line is more long-term.
So let's say
because
tomorrow,
I don't push it with free experience.
Well, in the next hour, we're telling you, okay, we're making 2016 the year of fixes. Not bring any new content. We're just going to fix all the matchmaking. Would that be enough?
No.
You would hemorrhage.
Tell this to Slava, please, just to make sure. Because it's not going to happen. So there's a lot of people who are pushing in the other direction as well. But there is one movement is, and it's an important one, because 2000, and I actually wished cleaned this board, but it actually sat there, but I didn't want to take it away. So that's the internet password if you actually.
Okay.
But we are refocusing a lot of the way that we communicate on and take in feedback on player focus, and making sure that the players actually get the voice inside the company that they need to have, because this is a complicated topic for us because of the history of how wargaming expanded into the world. So it started out all from Minsk. Some of it was done well, some of it done really rubbish in terms of like customer service in the very early days, like 2011, before the European office opened. But then there was at the same time when we came in and actually opened the European office, we were very successful, but we had at the same time a lot of people in Minsk who didn't lose their job, but who lost the stuff that they were working on, and they were very pissed about that. I had a lot of fights there because I'm the guy who's going to take your job away. So it's not necessarily a good starting position for making friends. So my first half year was not necessarily the most comfortable. And these people stayed in the company. They did other jobs, and they actually didn't do any jobs. It had a very tough start, and there was a lot of people who had better or had opinions on how we should do things better or worse or whatever, or different. But the start of wargaming in Europe was not necessarily a positive, let's embrace this new wonderful game and company that is coming to Europe. It was more like, these Russian guys who want to make some money in the West. So that was a difficult start, and then it didn't necessarily, it actually went up pretty well, Then there's a couple of things that happened throughout last year that weren't necessarily the best. Mainly, in my opinion, actually, the content cadence was very bad.
The content what was?
The cadence of the content. So the when content was released and how much was released
We
and how
were
much was announced.
talking about this last
Yeah.
night. It was like 3 months, nothing, and then patch 1 month, patch next month, patch next
Yeah.
month, and then 3 months, nothing. And
Yeah,
then,
and
I thought there was lots of content, to be honest. I
It
thought
was a lot of
I thought
content.
compared to other games.
yeah, so the,
Oozing in content,
yeah.
oozing
but it
in
was
content. But it released poorly.
stupidly released.
Yeah.
So actually packaging it in a way that is attractive and making like one content page about one topic and the next one about another topic and actually having content. So the content cadence really this year was horrible. There was a couple of things that happened in like acquisition didn't work the way that it was supposed to work. We did a lot of changes in the global operational structure to address those. So overall it was, and obviously we had a huge meltdown of the Russian market, so there's a lot of pressure on the CIS region now to how do they reinvent the game, how do they re-attract customers. Also the market saturation in CIS is much, much higher than in Europe, so they...
And you took steps to improve retention of new players. And
Yeah, so, but we never, so one of the things what I want to make sure we don't lose focus on is what is actually needed to maintain the players that are with us for years, and actually what does it take to motivate them to stay? Because here's the thing is, if we address all of these things, matchmakers, so if we start a discussion on how do we address the matchmaker, the very first thing that happens is there's going to be low-hanging fruits, and we hey Slava.
Oh, hey.
You do introductions?
What?
You do introductions?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Slav.
Max.
I'm Will.
Will, Paul,
Hello.
Rita, and Björn. Then I'm just going to finish my last thoughts, Lava, and then we can move on. Then when you do that, then you actually get a lot of people who are going to be happy about it, and then you're going to have another lot of people who are going to say, but that's not the fix that I was looking for.
yes, of course.
So fixing is not necessarily an easy term because it suggests that there is a solution that is so obvious that we should have done it a long time ago, and that's not the way that really is. It's not like there's a digital situation of now it's at 0 and if we switch that switch then it's 1 and then everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So making everyone happy is never going to happen. The question of how to actually improve is important, and addressing the concerns of the community is very, very important. But it has to be in concert with what is actually motivating people to stay in the game, and that's where it's very important to actually get your feedback, because we have been playing like crazy.
I personally, I'm the type of player who has that group of favorite tanks, and I keep on playing them. 3 years, I'm still playing those tanks like crazy.
We've
But
introduced all these new Chinese tanks. Don't care.
No, don't care. Just I have my favorites,
You know.
but I still keep on grinding different tech trees. But at the same time, I feel that things are stale. I miss fun events. I miss some. Actually, I said it like 2 weeks ago. Sometimes I wish that World of Tanks Blitz and World of Tanks console would merge and become a new PC version, because they have been doing, fair prices, fun events, and I don't know. It's just we stopped having fun events on the PC version. Carl 8-bit was super fun, and it's a nice.
So which one?
Carl.
The Carl.
Carl.
And the Chafair race. I miss
And the
those things.
tank soccer.
Yeah.
Tank Soccer.
Tank Soccer was great.
What about racing?
I love the Chaffee
Chafair
races.
racing was
Chevy racing was, for me personally, hands down the best of the
Yeah,
three.
that was fantastic. I loved
When was
that.
the last time we had we had 8-bit game modes
Was
as well?
was a Christmas. Was
Last Christmas?
over a year ago.
Yeah.
Was over a
Yeah,
year
that's
ago.
true. With the
Over a
polar
year ago.
bear and stuff,
Just-
wasn't it?
But
Yeah.
you don't
And the
want
Arctic Fox.
Just World of Warships
Yes.
had some.
Yes.
to. You don't
some
want to overdo
specials.
things like that though, because people get.
I guess.
They
Yeah,
go, oh,
I think
well,
like one every 6 months.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Roughly.
brings so much fun to
Yeah. It does create like a bit of a buzz around the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah,
And
they were-
the tank football thing was really cool because it coincided with the
The
World
World
Cup,
Cup,
right?
There were more.
Obviously,
There were
yeah.
more serious stuff.
But then again, what's the investment into a game mode like that? I'm sure that requires quite a lot of time for a lot of people to be able to create what is just a fun game mode
Yeah.
that's going to be very temporary, rather than something that then will be
Magic
longer,
box.
right?
That's the magic box of beverages.
Beverage
I mean,
box.
to be honest, map making is quite simple.
Yeah.
It's just get the textures, get the collision walls, get the textures, put it there, and they actually were very smart because they used already data that was in the patch. Because for example, the ball in the soccer mode, it was the Type 52 turret.
Okay.
So they
T-52 turret.
They scraped the data, and they were very smart with the way they handled it.
Well, if they can do it quickly, then for sure. But the question is what's better, a fun game mode or putting in, say, like half a tank line or a tank line? You know, what's the same investment? You know, as players, we have no idea, and it's down to the developers about where to invest their effort.
I wonder what the scope is for leaving those game modes, because they're great, but you put all that effort into doing the Chaffee race or the moon buggy thing, which was on the Xbox
Just
360
Yes,
version,
yes.
Thank you.
or the tank football, or this and that, and they're there for 3 weeks and then they're gone forever. And then the next,
Yeah.
you've got to do. I just wonder, obviously you must have done
Oh,
studies
it's
into it,
good
because
for
how
me.
many people would still be playing those modes if there was a set, you hit the battle button or you hit the drop down,
Yeah.
you can pick blah 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 blah, special battle. Chaffee
Quite
tank racer.
Yeah, quite honestly, I don't think it's a good idea to keep them as permanent.
No.
Because then they lose out on being
special.
Yeah.
well on being also interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, it's fun if you can play them for a week, for 2 weeks, and there's maybe some missions connected to them. And I just love the racing mode, for instance. I was like going crazy in this. I was like probably playing for 2 weeks nothing but racing. I wasn't playing any other.
It was good.
Other game, but yeah, it's not a long-term thing that that motivates you to play that game. But I appreciate the point, giving this as an occasional thing that okay, now we have this funny game mode, and it helped actually a lot during. During during the World Cup, because World Cup is actually the much more challenging event for our audience than any game release.
Yeah,
so when
because
we're looking
that's going to take your players
game
away.
release from any competitors, it really usually doesn't impact our stats as much. But World Cup, if you consider the makeup and age and profile of our audience, it's predominantly male.
Yeah.
And it's 28 to, I don't know, 36, so that's people who watch football.
And it's the middle of the summer as well, which is when people will play games less anyway, and now you've got the World Cup as well, so you're really struggling to find an audience in the summer.
And then we appreciate, I mean, obviously we don't want people to be sitting in front of their PCs when they can have bratwurst and beer outside or lay on the beach. That's the summer, and we all want to be in the summer. And we also changed a lot our offline strategy, which is something that I wanted to kind of probably want to discuss this afternoon with Florian a little bit more in detail. From getting actually away from having all-round-year events, but actually focusing the events that we're going to have with players through the summer, where people anyway want to be outside, where people anyway want to not be sitting at home. And in the winter, where you actually don't want to go outside because, well, now it's looking a little bit better, but where it's usually rainy and where it's usually cold, and you better be in front of your PC. You don't want to hold people into, okay, let's have a community event in some place. So yeah, but Slava,
Okay.
let's introduce you.
And I think that seems like as good a place as any to stop. We're approaching half an hour now, and I want to try to keep these things down. We're about half an hour in length. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode, but that's pretty much it from Marcus, and the occasional comment from his head of community relations, Florian, there. In the next video, we're going to be talking to Slava. I can't even begin to pronounce his surname. He's the Russian gentleman on the left who just entered the meeting. And whereas Marcus, as Wargaming Europe's general manager, is more of the strategy type of guy, Slava is much more about the nuts and bolts of the game mechanics and how things work and why things are changed to work the way they do, and what exactly Wargaming are trying to do with World of Tanks when they introduce these changes. And they don't always have the intended effects. And it was a very, very interesting discussion, and I'm sure you guys are going to find it really interesting. That's coming up in the next section of this visit to Wargaming Cyprus HQ video, which is probably going to come up tomorrow. As always, in addition to the usual content. Until then, take care, and I'll catch you next time.